Hey, family. Happy Tuesday. I apologize. Look, I was so excited because people have been asking me to stream on Instagram, but I wasn't able to do it through the platform that I use to stream on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Finally, have the ability to stream on Instagram, and it was being funky with me. So that's why I'm a little bit late because you guys know I'm not the tech person, I'm just the tax person. But now that we're here, let me go ahead and make sure that LinkedIn is up and popping too. All right, I just got the notification on my phone because I looked at a LinkedIn video earlier this week and it was going fine. So I'm hoping that all my people that hop on LinkedIn today can see me all right. They can comment all right. It's not glitching. We're going to get this figured out with LinkedIn, you guys. Let me see, where am I at? And as you're hopping on Facebook or Instagram, make sure that you drop in the comments and say hello. Let's see, that is me. All right, I'm good over here too. Awesome. Let me click on here so I can see the comments. And we're going to get rolling. Let me mute myself. All right, good deal. So today, I am talking about time management for enrolled agents. So it's pretty interesting. You know, a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, oh my goodness, I have so much life going on. Like, I really don't have time to study for this exam. It's like, once you actually become an EA, it doesn't get better, right? Especially if you're a solo practitioner and you decide that you also want to do tax preparation or you also want to do tax planning. Even if you aren't doing tax planning and tax preparation, a lot of us wear a lot of different hats, right? So, for example, me, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a business owner, I'm a friend, I'm on other committees, I have other responsibilities. And then I have my occupation, what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about showing up here each week, right, to do these videos. I'm passionate about helping my clients, the taxpayers that actually owe the IRS and advocating for them. But there's so much to do at all times. So, how do we actually manage everything? That's what I'm going to be talking about today, whether you're that aspiring EA sitting for the exam right now, or if you've already crossed over. I appreciate you guys jumping in the comments. Let me go ahead and say what's up and Happy New Year to some of you because I haven't seen some of you guys or talked to some of you guys yet. So, Deja, Happy New Year, Happy Tuesday, and congratulations on passing part 3 of the special enrollment exam. Happy New Year, Deacon Turner. Deacon Turner, how are you? And I think you're going to be sitting pretty soon as well. So I'm definitely excited for you guys that are getting ready to cross on over to the dark side and become official enrolled agents. Hey, Charlene. She says, looking forward to this. Love time management tips. And let me give a caveat, a disclaimer here, okay? So, you guys know sometimes you can read all the books, you can watch all the videos, but you kind of fall short of actually, hitting the mark. The time management tips that I'm sharing today, they are things that I either implement now, I've implemented before and they worked, or I plan on implementing them, but maybe I just did not stick to them. This topic right here that we're talking about today, I am not saying that I am perfect in, right? So that is my disclaimer. I'm not the time management expert. However, wow. I was going to say the past few years, I've been in the tax industry. My first busy season was January 2011. Through those years, I do have some tips that when I go back, I'm like, okay, that's what actually worked. That's what I need to go back to. And then there are some things that may have worked in the past, but because my life has evolved, and like I said, I have on different hats. Back then, I wasn't a wife. Back then, I wasn't a mother. I wasn't a business owner. So there were less things for me to actually manage on my plate. So it's okay if in a different season of your life you have to implement a different time management hack. So, yes, I can see my people hopping on LinkedIn. So I see Jake Mom. You're gonna have to tell me your real name unless you want to not share government stuff on here. Thanks, Refund Tax Solutions, for hopping on LinkedIn, folks. Make sure you hop in the comments as well and say what's up. I appreciate it, Charlene. That's one thing that I have been able to stay consistent with is the videos. Good morning to you, Miss Karina. Wait a minute. Oh, okay, okay. Larry, I was reading that wrong. So you were taking it January 31st, 24. I was reading it as November 31st, 24. And I was like, oh, wow, you got a lot of time to study there. But okay. So let me get my notes because you guys know when I do these videos, I get sidetracked. I get excited talking to you guys in the comments. So the first thing that I want to focus on with time management for enrolled agents, before I get too deep into it, just by a show of comments, if you are an EA already, will you let me know in the comments and say me? If you're not an EA yet, or if you don't even want to be an EA, you could just say not an EA. All right. I know, right? Larry said, at least we can hear you. You all, there was this one Tuesday I hopped on and I was really animated when I went back and I looked at the video. I was just like going in. Well, guess what? My microphone was turned off right here. So I had 5 minutes and 30 seconds worth of video live where my mic was not on. I thought you guys were my family. Didn't let me know my mic wasn't on. Just let me go and be really, really animated. So I had to stop, still live stream, turn the mic on, brush my shoulders off, wipe the embarrassment off my face, and keep on going. But I'm glad that you guys can hear me. So Michael Gova says, good morning. Thank you, sir. Tuning in from LinkedIn. Karina says, me. All right. So on LinkedIn or on Instagram, I'm sorry, I have Donnell. And then I also have Tanya. Donnell, thank you so much. He says, great work. I will be so happy when StreamYard lets me get everybody's comments right here. But until then, that's why I'm on a swivel right now because I can't see LinkedIn. I can't see all of LinkedIn. I can't see Instagram right here, you guys. So I promise you guys have my full attention, right? So Karina is an EA. Let me go to this one first. Charlene says, I considered studying for the EA exam so I could get content ideas. But then I unexpectedly became an instructor and haven't went back to it. Well, I mean, that's cool too. You're amongst friends and company. But Charlene, you are a CPA, so I mean, prioritizing still really big deal. Charlene also says, yes, I have to define my priorities every day to help me manage my time. I typically have 20 things on my list, and looking at the list like that puts me right to sleep. So I learned my lesson. Me too. Especially if we are looking at busy seasons during our life, no pun intended, because I know this is tax busy season, but you're like, I have all this stuff to do. And what happens if you guys follow me on Facebook, you know, I'm notorious for taking a 30-minute power nap and waking up 12 hours later the next day, right? Because it's so overwhelming. So when we're looking at our list and actually prioritizing, which that's the key. That's the tip. I'm just going to give you tips to prioritize. Um, we have to figure out what is most important. And the way that I do that as a business owner is different from the way that I do that as a mom or a parent, right? So when we throw all of those things in the mix, we have to shift and shuffle. And I'm gonna tell you how we do it. So seven, hey Timalyn, glad to catch you. Love. Oops, meant live. I kind of knew what you meant, but it's good to have you here live too and not catching the replay. When we are looking at our to do list, let me talk from the perspective of a business owner first, right? When you're looking at your list and you have 20 things to do today, just as a business owner, when you are looking at what is most important, I like to use numbers. I don't know why I use numbers for this and letters for my personal one, but I use numbers. So, whatever is a money generating activity that I have to do and I can't outsource, that money generated activity is what is prioritized. All right. And for me, what also falls into that category is if I'm working with a client right now that is a representation client and we have a deadline. Okay. Because you have to think about it. If we have a representation client, they owe the IRS, maybe they've missed the deadline with filing, but they're in trouble right now because they've missed the deadline with paying. Them hiring me, I don't need to pour any more salt into that wound of them already owing, right? So if I'm looking at my list of things to do, and maybe I need to send engagement letters out today, maybe I need to call the IRS for something that is not quite escalated, maybe I just need to get transcripts, or I have to prepare an appeal. For me, the money generating activity, whether I've been paid already or not, and that is something we go back and forth with. When I say paid or not, some people pay me in installments. We don't do any representation work without being paid, right? You all. The appeal is going to be what's priority because I'm going against this deadline for the client to help them get out of the tax catastrophe that they're already in, right? Now, with that being said, if I'm going to prioritize the money making activities, I have to have boundaries set up so that I'm focusing on money generating activities in the right order. What does that mean? A lot of people in the tax representation space, and I'm talking about the taxpayer, not the people working there, they want their emergency to become your emergency, correct? Which I mean, rightfully so. That's the whole reason that they're hiring you for representation. But at the same time, you're working on other deadlines. You have these boundaries. If I have a client who has retained me and for whatever reason, let's say my power of attorney, it's not processed yet on the IRS end. So I'm not getting their notices in the mail. I let them know up front, if you receive any type of correspondence from the IRS, you need to let me know ASAP. If they received a letter, today's Tuesday, if they received a letter last week on Monday and I have to turn something in by this Friday, them getting it to me today, if I have to drop everything else to get that done, that is going to shift what I'm focused on and prioritizing. Now, should I drop all my other clients that followed the rules and got me things timely to focus on this client? Should I drop whatever I have planned for my family or spending time with them to focus on this client? So, even within the world of me prioritizing, when you have to factor in other people, that's something else that makes it tricky. Now, for me, again, we're looking at business. First, we're going to prioritize money generating activities. Then, we're going to look at the activities that you don't honestly like to do, and maybe they're not directly revenue generating. We're going to look at those things and see what we can actually outsource and get off our plates, right? So, for me, I enjoy being on social media to a kiki, laugh and giggle, right? Not always to do different outreach to make sure posts get out at different times. Now, I can do that. I have done that. So I appreciate the people that I hired to do it for me. But if scheduling posts and following up isn't really my thing, it's not directly connected to income, that's something that needs to be prioritized, but not prioritized on my to do list. It's something that I can outsource to somebody else. Does that make sense? You guys went quiet on me. If that makes sense, let me know. Say yes, that makes sense. If it does not, say I need you to explain. Sorry, Instagram people. I forgot you guys were over here. So, yours truly, one of a kind, says, "Hey, Timalyn. Hey, yours truly. Legacy Consultants jumped on. I think that's Darnisha. Let me know if I said the right person or not." So, once we're looking at that, the way that I'm able to prioritize the money generating activities, I do have to list everything out, right? So, let's say during tax season, I still have around 50 clients. We've come down to about 50 now. I'm looking at representation work, I'm looking at tax preparation work. For me, one of the best tools is having my actual calendar in Outlook, but then you guys may not be able to see it. I'm just going to show you the back. I have, you can't see it, I have a desk calendar here as well as a planner. So, what needs to get done this week, whether that's an article I'm writing, a podcast that I need to go shoot in the podcast studio, all of that's written on the calendar. So, whether I'm on my computer or not, that's still top of mind and I know what I need to get done. Now, if I actually get onto my computer and look at the task manager, I can see different deadlines that I have with clients. All right. So that's connected to my CRM. So in the CRM, I can see what the obligations of the clients are when they're supposed to get stuff turned into me. And then I can also see when I need to get stuff turned back into them. So using that system, again, is going to help me to prioritize the actual money generating activities versus, uh, I got 10 returns I need to get done by Friday. Let me go write this article. I can see all in one place what needs to be the most important. Now, let's say you are a tax professional and you are studying for the EA exam. I have people ask me, and it's funny because I talked to two different people yesterday and they were talking about, not having enough time to study for the EA exam. One person is an EA, they'll remain nameless unless they want to shout themselves out. But we were just talking about how you have to prioritize. So for me studying, it's been a few years, but the system that I had at the time, my daughter was 3. She was in preschool. She only went to preschool 2 days a week for 3 to 4 hours on those 2 days. My husband was working 40 hours a week. And then in addition to that 40 hours a week, he also was finishing up his bachelor's degree. So he was in class at nighttime. And when he wasn't in class, he was doing homework. And let me go back. He was also a retail banker. So, with that being said, he worked in a location that did not have traditional hours. So, there were days when they would close at 7. With me being at home, having my business part time, having, I don't know if you can have a business part time, but I didn't have as much time to commit as now. With him not being there as often as I would have liked due to school and work and having the weird hours. Then having a 3 year old, all my friends are like, yeah, we put our baby down around 6, 7. Well, I wanted her to have the opportunity to spend time with her dad, right? So she's always gone to bed at like 9 at the earliest just so we could spend actual family time. Then I had clients that I was working with and I was meeting. Some of you guys know the story of Jemiah getting her first client in Starbucks. That's because she had to be with me because she wasn't in preschool, right? So back then, I didn't see anywhere that I could fit studying in. Well, for me, at the time, Passkey, now they're hooked up with Hawk International, I invested in that course because I said, hey, I'm going to get this done some way, somehow. So I wasn't able to follow everybody else's tips and steps and do a little bit of studying every day. I did the bulk of my study on the weekends because at that time I had a grandmother that was sick and out of town. She's about 3 hours away. And I would listen to the content while I was on the road, and then throughout the week, when I could, I would take practice exams or quizzes. So When we go back to actually prioritizing, we have to make sure that we find a system that is going to work for you. So, no matter what tips I share, you have to take them and tweak them and make them your own. Maybe you're not a planner person. I'm a planner junkie. All right. It's funny because my daughter bought me a planner for this year back in September. I love planners, but I know people that will not open that planner and write in it and look at it. Maybe they use all their stuff on a phone calendar. I can't do that because part of my time management and for me to be able to focus on what I need to get done, I can't have push notifications from my email on my phone because that's another boundary that I had to set. And that's another tip I'm going to give you too. When you are working on something that is important where you can't have any distractions, unless you need to be in constant communication with somebody about what you're working on, close your email. I check my email. I check my main business email once a day. I check my America's Favorite EA email more than once a day because I work on different projects with people in there. But if I did not create that boundary and close my email, I would be in and out of my email all the time. And what I found for me is that I'm not actually getting anything done because every time my email dings, I'm clicking over and responding to the email. And it's in Randy Jackson's voice, it's a no for me. It just doesn't work, right? So we're going back, prioritizing, using your, you could use a notebook even if you don't have a calendar at this time, which I think everybody does through Gmail. You need to make sure that you are listing all of the activities that you need to get done. Maybe you need to drink a cup of coffee so that when you see the list, it doesn't overwhelm you, right? After you have everything listed, you want to make sure that you can put a 1, you can put a star, you can put a capital A by everything that you need to get done that is a money generating activity. All right? Then for the things that need to get done but you don't necessarily like to do and maybe they're not directly connected to money, you can go through that list and you can put an O. All right? And the O is going to be for outsource. Right? So for example, for me, I use social media. Yes, I do create the copy for all of my posts. That does not mean that I need to actually be the one to schedule it and I need to be the one that makes sure that it gets distributed everywhere. That's something that I can outsource that needs to be done, but it's not directly connected to making any money, right? For me, with family stuff, I have to keep the two lists separate just so, as it was mentioned earlier, I don't look at this list and it's completely overwhelming with 60 things and I pass out and have to take a nap. When I look at my family stuff and the activities we have, I do have to do better, but there are some things that my daughter's involved in that I'm not going to miss, right? So, for example, she was in a musical this past summer. I was at every show except for one during the daytime. I wasn't at that show. I was working, but they had a program where students that had a little culture pass from the library they could get in free. So I didn't want to take up any of those spots. There are things for my family where I have to make sure that I show up because at the end of the day, if I don't help these people with tax representation, they're going to go off and they're going to find somebody else to take care of it for you. If you don't get these taxes completed, and for some people, if you don't get them completed the way they would like them completed, they're going to leave you and find somebody else. I read a quote one time. It said, the only person that is going to remember that you worked 24 hours a day all the time is your child and your spouse. And it's right. Like, I don't know what it is about working and, getting all this stuff done where we wear it like a badge of honor that we get burnt out and like, oh yeah, I missed this and that because I had to get my work done. You guys know how important my work is. Those clients may appreciate it. And if they do appreciate it, they'll appreciate it for a short time, but then they'll move on. There's more damage done to your family and your friends and those strained relationships if you don't make sure that they're prioritized above your work. And with that, I do mean a healthy balance. So, for example, my daughter, business partner Jemiah, she understands when I'm working on an article or there are things where I have a deadline. Now, when things are extremely busy, let's say during tax season for you, if you're still doing tax prep, or even if you're studying for the EA exam, you have to also know your family and friends' different love languages, right? So there are some things that I can do, and her love tank is still full, even though I may be working. So, for example, we both love Michael Jackson. All right. So, as I was working on an article last night, we listened to Michael Jackson. I'm sitting upstairs at my home desk, and she sat right here and she read while we listened to Michael Jackson. Her mommy tank was full. I was content. We were able to work. If you are able to do those types of things with your family while you're working on something that's not as not thought heavy, but where you can stand to be around people, then that's cool. I can do the singing and all that when I'm writing. Having a conversation is completely different. But I have to make sure each day with my family stuff, there's not really something that I can put an O next to, right? When it comes to spending time with my husband or spending time with my daughter. So it's very important that if you can't do something every day for 30 minutes, that, or not 30 minutes, I would say an hour, that you do something with them individually at least 15 to 30 minutes a day. For us, she was up here 90 minutes singing with me. Excuse me. Sometimes maybe we will have dinner in our family room and we will talk about how our days went. And one year she binged Family Matters. We have to make sure that we're not only keeping those tanks full, but keeping our tanks full too, because not only do our families need us, we need them as well. And I don't know what's going on with StreamYard because I just got a bunch of comments and I see I'm actually late to getting them. So let me catch up a little bit. So Miss Dorothy said, "Hey, Miss Timalyn, sorry I'm late. I will go back and watch the replay. No worries. Glad to have you here. I got up early to study for the E exam 1 hour Monday through Friday. You know, and that works for a lot of people. It didn't work for me. That's another reason I reiterate you have to do what's going to work for you and create a system that's going to work for you. I told my husband before this year started, you guys know how they say successful people wake up at 5 o'clock and they get their day started, they go work out. I said, hey, I know me. It took 34 years. I'm not waking up to work out before the day starts. What I'm going to do, since I have to go sit in the car rider line, an hour before Jemiah gets out of school, I'm going to go to the gym that's closest to her school. I'm going to get right in the car rider line. That's when I'm awake. That's when I can get it done. That's how we're going to do it. I'm not going to keep making myself feel bad because it's hit or miss with me getting up at 6 to work out at 7. And yes, my body feels good later, but it's just not my happy place if I have to be there that early in the morning. Same thing with studying. You all, if you all get an email or a message or something from me at 5 o'clock, full disclosure, that means I haven't been asleep. I can work the whole night through. I am not getting up early. And that's why if you've ever had a call with me, it has always been at least at 10 a.m. or later because I know that I don't people well before 10 a.m. Eastern, right? So you have to know these things about yourself. And like when people are giving all these tips and tricks, yes, there are things that you can do with discipline. Can I get up and be at work at 8? Can I get up and be at the gym at 7? I can do those things, but I'm not productive if I'm doing those things because that's not the ideal time for me. Not just because, oh, I don't want to get up. If any of you guys have been around me in person, even if it was at a conference somewhere, if I'm sitting in class at 8, like I'm sitting there, people are like, "What's wrong? You're not talking." I'm not a morning person. And I know that. I accept that. So, Miss Dorothy, I am super glad that worked for you. Like I said, it didn't work for me. When I did do my practice quizzes and stuff, I did them at night after my family was asleep. So Karina says, yes, having kid activities in the midst makes it tricky. It does make it tricky, Karina, but I think too, if you are a business owner versus an employee working for somebody, there are different things that we can do. You all know if you've seen my videos, I was actually looking at a post from 3 years ago. My daughter is taking complete ownership. She thinks this is hers. Um, and with Bowen's Tax Solutions, the tax representation and prep, she's always said she's my business partner. And it was funny because last year she was up here. I think I was working on an article, and she said, "Who's your business partner for America's Favorite EA?" I said, "I don't have one." She said, "Well, I really think I need to be your business partner for that because I'm America's favorite business partner." So even with that and her taking ownership, part of that, she understands that I need to get the work done, but she also has set her own rules for prioritizing as well. When she gets in the car, rather, from school now, she has created a rule which I adhere to. When she gets in the car, on my car screen, I have to hit do not disturb so no text message notifications, no calls come through. The only two people that can get through to make a call or text me are my mother and my husband. There are times when we're playing games or watching TV and she's like, I don't want you on your phone. My husband's not as mean to me anymore. But those are just different things, Karina, that we can put in place to help them understand like, hey, tax season, this business is not more important than you are. What can mommy do to help you know that you are my main priority? You are the A on my list, not the O, right? And going back to the family list and, having those different initials and everything, I said there aren't things with your family that you can outsource. There are some things, right? So there have been times where we have had somebody come in and deep clean the house once a month. That huge relief, especially if you have a spouse. That gives you guys more time to be with each other as well. There are different meal prep programs that you can use. That's something else that could be outsourced. Or if you were that super planner, which sometimes I try to be during tax season, sometimes I will cook on Saturday or Sunday stuff that I enjoy doing, especially when it's cold and you can do soups, chilies, lasagna, that kind of stuff. I'll spend the day cooking, so I already have meals and everything prepared for the majority of the week. And my family likes to eat, so it doesn't typically um, last the whole week. But with that, Karina, that is helping your children take ownership to be like, hey, you guys may not be my official partners, but you are my silent partners with this. So we're going to work on this together. So maybe you do have those meals where your children are the ones that do the majority of the lifting, right? So some of the stuff that we did last night, my daughter made a pizza. No, not a frozen one where you stick in, one where you roll out the crust and everything. She shredded up chicken, did all that stuff. But with that ownership and her contribution, we're talking about priorities. It's like, how did I get here from time management? But that contribution of hers helped her know, hey, I'm in partnership with mommy and daddy, and mommy has to get some work done so I can do this. And of course, my husband did help her, right? So let me see. And I promise I'm gonna get back on track and I'm gonna let you guys go. All right. If you have enjoyed the stream so far, which has kind of been a ramble session today, will you do me a favor? I have one heart on Facebook, will you either like the stream or give me a heart? If it's been good, you can always drop me something in the offering plate. Let me see on LinkedIn. All right, we're good there. Instagram is kind of glitchy, so I'm sorry, you guys, if you were posting anything. So Charlene says, yes, today I realized making food needs to be on the list because I almost forgot it. I realize it's hard to be at my best and productive if I don't do certain things. Absolutely. So one of the things for me, and that's something too, thank you, Charlene, that you'll have this long list of 20 things that you need to do. You need to prioritize it if you're a business owner for money generating activities. We've already said that, right? You need to look at things that you can outsource, but you need to make sure that you are adding things in that are going to actually help fill your tank. Yesterday, I had 7 calls. I did not leave time for me to eat lunch. My husband got something for me, which again, you have to keep those relationship tanks full. Thank you, husband, for looking out for me. But you have to make sure that you also prioritize your self care, your health, right? So, a lot of people don't know. I'll tell you guys, I ran myself into the ground the end of 2022. So, I went to, how did it happen? No, my doctor, who also works when she's not supposed to, but I appreciate her for this. She was actually on vacation and she was looking at some of my test results and she called me on a Tuesday night and told me, Miss Bowens, you need to go to the hospital now. And I was like, what? Like, I'm tired, but I'm fine. And what ended up happening, because I was working so much and not taking care of myself, I ended up needing to go to the hospital and had an overnight stay, had to get blood transfusions. And then that whole end of 2022, it felt like I was trying to just catch up because I finally sat down. And when I sat down to get the rest, I couldn't get up, I couldn't bounce back because I had just run myself into the ground so much. So when we're looking at this thing of priorities, yes, we have the money generating activities, but your health and wellness still has to come above the money generating activities. Will there be times when, yes, you may lose a little bit of sleep because you're working on a deadline, you have to get something done? Yes, that happens. That's just part of being a business owner. Sometimes that's part of tax season, right? Even if you're doing representation work and maybe you aren't the actual owner, maybe that just sometimes is how the cookie crumbles. But you have to make sure that you are prioritizing your eating, and that includes what you're eating. You have to make sure that you are prioritizing you getting sleep. And yes, I'm talking to myself too. I'm doing much better. But you have to make sure you're prioritizing getting sleep, making sure you're prioritizing you drinking water, because a lot of us during this time of year, we sit at our desk and we just drink a lot of caffeine. We have to prioritize our movement. I think I'm about to be team Fitbit again. And it's pretty cool because one year we actually had a challenge, a Fitbit challenge with a bunch of accountants in a group. And honestly, I need to do that again. This past summer in Jamaica, my Fitbit died in a waterfall. So that's one of the things I actually do have listed down. I need to go ahead and go back to Sam's or something, get another Fitbit so I can be intentional with making movement. I have to make sure that I'm intentional with drinking my water, right? I have to make sure I'm intentional with getting rest because, guys, guess what? No, I didn't tell a lot of people. There are some people where I was just like, hey, I'm sick. I can't get to that. I'll be back. The people that didn't know that I was in the hospital, client and prospect wise, there were people who were very understanding and they were like, hey, get back to me when you can. Then there were people that were like, literally the same week I came back home. Okay, so we can get back on this next week. All right, so will you be able to give me a call tomorrow? So like I said, I like to think I'm a pretty nice person. Even with that being said, though, those emergencies, and yes, I'm doing this because we're talking about tax returns that weren't even late yet. Those emergencies for those people are not things that I should have prioritized over my health that got me there in the first place, sitting in a hospital bed. But then, in addition to that, even if the worst would have happened, those same people would have moved on and been fine without me. Hate to break it to you, but you guys aren't Superwoman or Superman either. The people that you assist, while don't get me wrong, I have some clients that are very grateful and appreciative, and I'm sure you do too. Your clients will still find a way to get it done without you if something happens to you. So you have to make sure that you are numero uno. So when we're looking at the things for ourselves, yes, I said the water, the eating, that what you eat, when you eat, 3 solid meals a day, guys, right? You also have to make sure that you're prioritizing sleep. And then for me, I have to prioritize, like, my whole week is off if I'm not in church on Sunday. Maybe it's because I'm a PK. I don't know. I have to be in church Sunday. I have to get that spiritual feeling. And then throughout the week, I still have to do the same with the devotionals and Bible reading. In addition to that, filling my tank, depending on what you do, if you are in the tax representation space, you need to make sure that you are prioritizing your continuing education. Tax laws are continuously changing. You don't pass the EA exam and know everything forever. That's not how it works, right? We had the Inflation Reduction Act come out. Right now, we're dealing with the Corporate Transparency Act. How is that affecting our clients? How is that affecting us? Does your errors and omission insurance cover you helping people with the Corporate Transparency Act? Right? And under the Corporate Transparency Act, I'm talking specifically about the um, beneficial owner information reporting requirement, right? Because there are some insurance carriers that say, hey, that's not an accounting function. We're not covering you. But if you are not prioritizing yourself and your education and running this business, you may put yourself out in a limb for exposure to a lawsuit if you do something wrong, and your insurance is not going to cover you because you didn't take the time to prioritize your education and becoming better at your craft to understand what you could and couldn't do under the umbrella of protection from your insurance. Right? Right. All right. So I appreciate it. On Instagram, we say good tips. LinkedIn, why are you being like this to me? Let me see. Miss Dorothy says, I am okay with taxpayers going somewhere else. I'm not going to stress myself over taxes. Amen. Charlene says, woo, that's deep. Glad you mentioned how our thoughts about work can impact our life. A major shift for me was realizing I didn't want people to remember me for how much I worked when I leave this earth. I would rather be known for my impact. Look, and that's why we get along. You guys know I'm all about the impact. It's for me, it's always been impact over revenue. And here's the thing, when you show up concerned about making an impact and being of service to other people, not being getting money from other people, and there is balance. I'm not saying work for free, right? But when you show up with a posture of service, the revenue does follow. I promise you it does follow. Michael says, I was going to send you a message on LinkedIn. Is that the best way to reach you in regards of two questions that I have? Michael, you can go ahead and drop those questions right in the comments and I can answer them for you live unless it's something like super personal. Um, you could send me a message, but if it's something in regards to this or about being an EA at all, you can go ahead and drop that in the comment section. Deja says, prioritize my to do list is key. I need to do that. Also, trying to avoid burnout. I had it last year and it took me out. Look, burnout is so serious. And here's the thing, we can think we've recovered, but they say it actually takes years to recover from burnout. So, while I'm sharing these time management tips and everything, which by the way, if you haven't yet, you should go to americasfavoritea.com and subscribe to the blog. There are different levels. There's a free level, there's a paid level that does have more niche down things about tax representation and implementing different things in your business. And then we have the top tier subscription with the private podcast, community, and articles. But I say all that to say, at that bottom tier, even I'm doing an article for time management tips where I'm not going to be allowed to ramble, and there are going to actually be 10 time management tips for enrolled agents that you can use to implement in your practice. Last year, I did an article, Think Outside the Tax Box, where we talked about the self care 10 commandments for tax season. So if you read that, it's kind of along those lines. But I talk more about the calendar apps you can implement, because one of the things that my husband has, I downloaded the app, but I haven't implemented it. He has an app, and I think it's called Focus. And what it does not allow him to get on social media apps, certain social media apps, after a certain amount of time. And it does not let him be on there more than a certain amount of time. I can't remember if it's a certain amount of time each day or if it's a certain amount of time each week. And I don't know about you all. Like sometimes when I'm in the heat of tax season, I have to stop and like play a game on my phone because I'm overstimulated from everything going on. But I'll share about the app, um, time blocking, putting your phone on do not disturb has truly become my best friend. And again, even with that, I was like, well, if this person calls me, it'll be important. If this person calls me, so I'll let them get through the do not disturb. And sometimes we put people on a pedestal that they don't deserve to be on, rather. So that list went from like 5 people, and again, back down to just my mom and my husband. Because think about this, you guys. Even if you were running a business, even if you're an employee, nobody deserves 24-hour access to you. You're not Walmart, right? Nobody deserves that type of access to you. And sometimes we get overstimulated because we've given people too much access to us, and they can reach us at all times, whenever and however. And that is not good life balance at all. So for me, on Facebook, it says no DMs. And part of that's not just for me, it's also for people. It's just not an effective way to reach out to me, especially during tax season, because, like I said, I'm busy. There are the different peaks and valleys of tax representation. I don't have an iPhone. I don't care. Team Android. My daughter calls family members and stuff on Facebook. If you're in her way while she's trying to talk to her grandparents, she's going to swipe you right out, and I will never see that message. So for me, also, I started having people calling me at like 6 in the morning, asking tax questions and all kinds of stuff, and everything needs to be routed to one place, which is my booking page, right? Which I talk about that in one of the private podcasts and articles. Just establishing those boundaries also helps you with time management. There needs to be one way that people reach out to you and get on your calendar. So, yes, I have people reach out on LinkedIn, I have people reach out on Facebook. It's cool. I have people reach out on LinkedIn because they found me on YouTube and they want to send me a message. What I have found for me is that everybody needs to get the link to the calendar to book a call. That way, my time is not spent looking at my calendar, seeing who I can fit on. My time's not spent chasing people to be like, hey, I'm so sorry I didn't get back to you. Maybe we can meet this week or that week. Everybody has a calendar link. They have their own access to my calendar. They can find a time that works best for me and them. And that's that. I can't even tell you guys how much time that has saved me. Another thing, if you are in the accounting space, and I know a lot of you guys don't like to be on video, you don't like to write, But I would strongly advise you, my YouTube channel, if you've been following me, I was able to monetize last year. That was not my intention in creating a YouTube channel. My intention to do that was to create a library of resources because I was asked the same question over and over and over again. Then I started seeing the traction. It was like, okay, I can monetize this bad boy. And that's what I ended up doing. So, with that, that took time. It was an investment, but it actually has saved me time because I can't tell you how many times throughout the year I was asked, hey, how do I fill out my W 4? I did videos on that. And now that series, as of the beginning of this week, has over 100,000 views. So, I showed up in a posture of service. I invested the time to make these videos, so I'm not answering the question every week, multiple times a week. So now I have over 100,000 people potentially, because I don't know, some people may have watched it more than once. I have 100,000 people that I was able to serve because I invested time into saving my time, right? So if you have those FAQs, you're always asked. You can create a short blog post, you can create a video library on YouTube, but that's another way that you can save your time so you're not answering the same question over and over and over again. You provide that to that person as a resource. All right, so let me get back up here. Karina says, yep, so spot on with what we eat and movement. Oh my goodness. And I'm so competitive. The Fitbit worked for me because I could see what other people were doing. I'm like, well, shoot, they're doing taxes too. How did they have time to get up and get 8,000 steps? So it was funny. Like, we have an open concept in our house. Like, I would be downstairs walking around trying to get my steps in, running outside. Let me go walk in the cul-de-sac real quick. But that goes back to having community and accountability. Had I not seen what other people were still able to get done during tax season, I probably would have sat here and been content with my 1,500 steps, right? But because I made a commitment to get this many steps, these other accountants are in here with me, I can see they're actually doing it. That puts some fire under my behind for me to get up and go actually do it. Larry says you have to take care of yourself before you can help others. Exactly. You can't pour from an empty cup. Well, you can, but it's air. Miss Dorothy, thank you. Miss Dorothy says, I'm loving the blog. Glad I joined. Glad to have you. And so when you are subscribed to the paid blog level, which right now it is 25 a month, no, there's no paid in full option for the year. Reason being, I absolutely hate when I purchase something for a certain amount of time and I don't feel that it's actually living up to the promise of what it was, whether that's a mentorship program, a subscription for something like a blog, magazine. So what I've done, it is paid each month. You can cancel whenever you want to. So if it's not serving the purpose that you wanted it to serve, then you are free to go. All right. And as a matter of fact, this is not going to go over to Instagram, and I don't think it's going to go to LinkedIn. I'll drop the link in for you guys later. Okay. I am dropping the link for the subscription in now for my Facebook people. So you guys have that. All right. Instagram. I think they gave me a warning that you guys are going to drop after an hour. I think I'm about to be wrapped up. If not, feel free to come join me on Facebook at Timalyn. What's my name on here? Timalyn S. Bowens, America's favorite EA, or on LinkedIn. All right. So Michael says, okay, thanks. I'm volunteering with VITA this year and ideally would like to take the EA exams in 2025. First year doing tax prep. I do have Fast Forward Academy EA book from 2020 to 2022. Can I use that to study for parts of the EA exam? So, Michael, first, thank you for volunteering with VITA. We definitely need people in those locations to help the low income taxpayers. So I appreciate you for doing that. I also think that's one of the best ways for you to get experience, hands on experience with doing basic 1040s. Um, I have a question for you. Why are you waiting until 2025? Why not knock it out this year? With the Fast Forward Academy book, I believe the test is going to be redone. You guys correct me if I say the date wrong. It's sometime in February. Um, they have like a, what do you call it? A black zone, I think, or a dead period. That's what I'll say, a dead period. So they'll be redoing the exam and putting it back out. So your book for 2020, 2022, if it's even relevant right now, which I don't think it is, would not be what I would recommend. But I have something for you guys that's coming up soon on the free level of the blog. Right now, I'm actually talking to different people from review courses. So I do have a series that's going to be coming out. Um, Reviewing, I'll be doing Hawk International. I have somebody from Glime. I'll be talking to somebody from I've talked to somebody from Certifiable. So I will have somewhat of a review of those different courses, like how they're the same, how they're different. So again, go subscribe at americasfavoriteea.com because that will actually be coming out very, very, very soon. And I may even have a few guests from those platforms for videos. So if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and do that because I don't know that they'll be live. I may just have to push them on YouTube. Two questions. And my second question, sorry, is do you have any suggestions as far as joining an EA group on Facebook? Thanks for your insight and what you do. I enjoy your videos. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that feedback. Um, as far as an EA group, could you give me a little bit more detail? Are we talking about um, an EA study group, an EA accountability group? What type of EA group? I personally was in an EA group to help study. They would do practice questions and quizzes. That did help me along the way. I'm no longer in there, of course, because I passed it some years ago now. But yeah, let me know the purpose of the group that you're wanting to join. Your EA book is 2021 to 2022. Yeah, I don't think that book would be relevant right now. So I do think you're going to have to get something updated. Um, I'm a reader in talking about prioritizing stuff. I realize, hey, you're not reading enough leisurely and that directly impacts your writing. So one of the things I've also prioritized for this year personally is reading a certain amount every day. So let me see. So study group, beginners group. Um, it may have just been called IRS EA exam study group. I would look that up on Facebook and you probably will find groups. Because again, my daughter is 10. So, like I said, I was studying when she was 3. So, it's been a nice little minute since I was studying and actually passed the exam. So, I'm assuming they're still out there, but I don't know for sure. Right. So, best wishes in finding that group. And of course, if you are looking for a place for enrolled agent mentorship and community, yes, we do help each other with different case issues. And I'm laughing. I'm laughing because somebody in the group yesterday they asked if I would help them with a transcript report they were creating. And when they pulled this person's transcripts for this corporation they have, it was 67 pages of transcripts. So that's why I'm laughing. But I share that not only because I was laughing, but because there is case support within the group. Like I said, there is the weekly private podcast and the article subscription as well. So those are exclusive to the paid subscribers. And within that community, there's always homework and challenges. Because, like I said, I'm competitive. That's how I thrive. So that's how I work with my community as well. If you guys do not have any other questions for me, I am going to go ahead and hop off because my so kind husband did let me know that he got something for me for lunch. And I'm going to jump on an accountability call of my own. So I'm going to head out, get lunch. Please make sure you go to americasfavoritea.com, tax rep journey, if you're interested in being one of the paid subscribers, or joining the tax pros representation journey, which is the enrolled agent mentorship program. If you're not ready for that this time, you can still subscribe to americasfavoritea.com to make sure that you get the article this week with the 10 time management tips for enrolled agents. Thank you guys for joining and hanging out with me today. I will see you next week. I think I'm going to see you next week. There we go. Bye, guys.